Hello guys and welcome back to another weekly what I've watched, weekly watches. So we've got a few this week, I think a few more than usual, I haven't counted. But let's get on with what I watched last week, starting on Monday the 13th with Mad God. Okay, so Mad God was actually 30 years in the making. This is by Phil Tippett. This is stop motion animation, probably the best you will ever see. If you watch this, it's not for everyone. It is very strange, it's very weird. It's more of a horror thing if you like that kind of thing. So it says, a journey beyond your wildest nightmares. Follow the assassin through a forbidding, I think, do they mean foreboding? Forbidding world of tortured souls, decrepit bunkers, and wretched monstrosities, forged from the most primordial horrors of the subconscious mind. Every set, creature, and effigy in this macabre masterpiece is handcrafted and painstakingly animated using traditional stop-motion techniques. Mad God is a labour of love, a testament to the power of a creative gift, and an homage to the timeless art of stop-motion animation. Ready your eyes, ready your spirit, prepare to meet your maker. This is visually stunning. There's a lot of symbology, there is a lot of hidden meaning in this. We follow a character called the Assassin, who goes through like this nightmarish world of perhaps how you would view hell to be, and meets just so many different horrible creatures. There is no dialogue in this, there is no talking in this. It is normal length. I can't remember, I think it was about an hour and a half. So it is normal feature length, but it is beautiful if you like stop motion animation. If you just want to watch something for a story or for characters, then it's not going to be for you. But if you want to see something completely different with ridiculous amounts of imagination and such talent, please check out Mad God, because it's probably the best of that kind of genre that you will see. As I say, this was 30 years in the making, folks. On the same evening, I watched 3 that day. Antrim. Right, Antrim, I think the line after this is like the most terrible movie ever made or something. The deadliest film ever made. So this is kind of found footagey. It's not found footage, it's mockumentary. So rumoured to have been lost, Antrim appears as a cursed film from the 1970s. Viewers are warned to proceed with caution. It's said to be a story about a young boy and girl who enter the forest in an attempt to save the soul of their recently deceased pet. They journey to the Antrim, the very spot the devil landed after being cast out of heaven. There the children begin to dig a hole to hell. That sounds really good. As an idea for you, I gave it a 1 out of 5. I thought it was one of the most boring things I've ever seen. We start this with a bit of like mockumentary similar to the Blair Witch Project, where they're talking, or if you imagine the movie Ring, said to be cursed, and if you see it you're going to die. This is like a movie, if you see it you're going to die some way. So at the beginning we have a bit of like mockumentary, this happened to this person and this happened to that person, and then we cut to the actual movie, which is presented as if it was filmed in the 70s. Now I will say that's done really well. It does look like it was filmed in the 70s, but it's the most dull thing. There's nothing frightening, there's nothing eerie. It's not good. What I will say is, on reading trivia about this, it mentions something about certain sounds and tones that are used in the movie in the background sounds, which are designed to make you feel like sort of out of yourself, make you feel like a bit sick. And I'm reading this thinking, what a load of tosh. This movie made me and my husband both sick. Not because it's horrific or anything we saw, but there is sounds at a frequency that just is uncomfortable to humans. You don't really notice it as you're watching it, but it did make us both nauseous. So I will say that was extremely effective. But other than that, neither of us were a fan of the movie. We both found it really dull. But it's just one of those clever catches, isn't it? The deadliest film ever made. Watch this and you're going to die. On the same evening, I watched a documentary, I think it's on Amazon Prime, Drew Peterson, An American Murder Mystery. So it's basically, as it said, it's about this character, this man called Drew Peterson, who's an arsehole. So when 23-year-old mother of 4 Stacey Peterson vanishes, suspicion lands on her police officer husband Drew. It's a true crime thing. It's very well known. I knew most of what was behind this. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I thought it could have been much more in depth, much more information based and not so much opinion based. It was okay. It was just stereotypical true crime fodder, and it didn't really stand out more than anything else I've seen. So on the next day, I went to the cinema to see Puss in Boots, I can't say it, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Right, so I don't need to tell you what it's about. For a bit of context, I'm not a fan of the character of Puss in Boots. I don't like the whole arrogant hero thing. I did like Shrek and Donkey and all that kind of thing, but Puss in Boots was never a thing that I enjoyed. But I've heard so many people say that this is really, really good. And my son wanted to see it, so we went to see it. And I'm pleased to report it's my favourite of the movies, the Puss in Boots movies. His character is quite different in this, or he progresses to become quite different. The basic premise behind this is, we all know a cat has 9 lives, but Puss is down to his last life. And he kind of begins to sort of like realise his own mortality and life and what's important and people and relationships. And there is a Chihuahua in this. Just made the movie for me. I absolutely loved the Chihuahua. He is just wonderful. So if you watch it, just watch for the Chihuahua. He's brilliant. So that was the 14th. On the same evening, okay, so this is a movie that has been recommended to me multiple times, and I don't know why I'd never seen it. It's called Whiplash. It's a 2014 movie directed by Damien Chazelle. It stars Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons as the two main people. So the road to greatness can take you to the edge. Under the direction of a ruthless instructor, a talented young drummer begins to pursue perfection at any cost, even his humanity. Okay, this is very highly rated, folks. Most people that have seen this say it's incredible. I did really enjoy this. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think perhaps I didn't enjoy it quite as much as some others because a lot of the emphasis is on jazz music, and I really cannot be doing with jazz. I apologise if you're a jazz fan. To me, it sounds like people all playing something completely different and putting it all together. I just don't like jazz. But J.K. Simmons is this like almost drill sergeant like conductor of this orchestra, and he's pushing Miles Teller's character, who does the drumming in the movie himself. And even though he's been drumming since he was 15, he actually took more classes of several hours every day. In this movie, his hands bleed and it's real. There's his blood on the drum kit. It's intense. He's pushed to just excess to basically be better than the other guy that could potentially get the role in this orchestra. It's not just about drumming or music, it's about psyche, it's about the drive for success, it's about control, it's just about people and character and how far you're willing to push it to be the best at what you do. Very well acted. J.K. Simmons is incredible in this, as is Miles Teller. It is a really interesting drama piece. I didn't score it as high as most because, like I say, if they had have been focusing on a different kind of music, I may have enjoyed it a little bit more. I will admit the performances were outstanding, but the minute I hear jazz, my brain just wants to just run away. So that's maybe, I don't know, 3.5 out of 5 for Whiplash. I would thoroughly recommend you check it out. Okay, and on the 15th, I finally saw Infinity Pool. There's been so much talk about this. With Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth being the two main names in this. There are others. So, Infinity Pool, this is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, so that should tell you where we're going with this. Find out what kind of creature you really are. While staying at an isolated island resort, James and Em are enjoying a perfect vacation of pristine beaches, exceptional staff, and soaking up the sun. But guided by the seductive and mysterious Gabby, Mia Goth, they venture outside the resort grounds and find themselves in a culture filled with violence, hedonism, and untold horror. Now, I cannot tell you much about this without spoiling it, so I won't. This is a bit out there. I really enjoyed this. I gave this a 3 out of 5. I felt more could have been done with it. It could have been developed a bit further. But the basic premise of this is fantastic. The performances are fantastic. As you would expect, Mia Goth is flawless. Do not watch this if you're easily offended. There are rude scenes in this, but it's done in a very trippy way, and my husband found this really amusing. And I'm going to say exactly what I said, and I apologise if I offend anyone in advance. There's like an orgy scene in this, and it's all done in like reds and blues, and you're looking at, what am I looking at? And you cannot tell what you're looking at. You would have to slow it down, which I didn't. But the only thing I could recognise The only thing I could recognise was a boob, but I didn't say boob, I said a 3-letter word that starts with T. I said to my husband, I can't tell what I'm looking at until I see a tit. And that's exactly what this scene's like. It's like, oh, there's a boob again, there's another one. But you honestly, everything that's going on, by the time you've kind of got what you're looking at, it's gone and something else is there. So that scene is a bit weird, you just see a lot of boobs. But it's a weird film. It's got quite a far out concept. I really appreciated the concept. It's, in a way, how much can you get away with if you have money, I suppose, is kind of an idea without telling you what happens. But I don't really want to go into detail about what happens. If you don't know, I don't want to spoil it for you because I went in knowing nothing other than who was in it. So Infinity Pool, I would recommend 3 out of 5, but I do feel it had a lot of untapped potential and could have been even better, but really interesting idea. And I'm really regretting saying that T word. So the next evening, or a couple of evenings later, we went to the cinema to see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Okay, I've heard a lot of talk about this and how bad everyone thinks it is. I give this a 3 out of 5. Let me explain myself. I really enjoy Paul Rudd. I like the Ant-Man series. The first is still my favourite. I felt, I'll just get my main negative out of the way first with this. I felt the Wasp was a bit of a redundant character. She hadn't anything to do. She wasn't very well written in this, so obviously the actress didn't have a lot that she could, do. The other characters all have quite a bit to, we've got Michael Douglas, who my son said, is that the KFC man? He thought it was Colonel Sanders, Michael Douglas. Might I say Colonel Sanders? Might I say Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer were looking amazing? I couldn't believe how well they both looked in this. They both have really strong, parts in this. Paul Rudd was amazing as usual. Now, let's get to the criticisms. I also loved the relationship, the father-daughter. A lot of people don't like the replacement actress. I really liked her. I'm getting a lot of, it being in the Quantumania the whole time, the excessive use of CGI, the fact it was very Star Warsy. I like the fact it was very Star Warsy. I loved all of the characters, the really inventive, just weird things. Zeb, the little jelly man that wants holes. I love him. I watch a superhero movie for escapism, for a bit of silliness, to have fun. I don't expect it to challenge me intellectually on any level. I enjoyed this as a fun popcorn flick. It's not going to make you think a massive amount, but I thought it was fun, and that's what I go into a superhero movie expecting, fun. Now, when it comes to Marvel, other than Infinity War and Endgame, that's how I feel about most Marvel movies. I enjoy them, I watch them, I like them, I have fun with them. I don't expect any more than that. Then you have movies like The Batman and Joker, which I loved, which properly do make you think, that have that darker edge, which I personally really enjoy that. So yes, I enjoyed this movie. I didn't think it was terrible, but is that because I'm not massively invested into the fate of people in superhero movies? Quite possibly. But I had fun with it, what can I say? It entertained me and it gave me what I wanted to see. So 3 out of 5 for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And subscribe now, folks. So I obviously was bored this evening. I think I've watched 3 movies. So this one is 2019. It's called Infection. It's Infección. It's a Spanish language movie. This is about a breakout of an epidemic, of a rabies virus epidemic. So it says here, a Russian man is in Caracas under the influence of the crocodile drug when he gets infected with the rabies virus and starts an epidemic of aggressive and cannibalistic beings. So it kind of like zombies, but not quite zombies in that they're not the undead, they just have this virus and it makes them want to eat people. I'm not going to waste time in this. It's very dull, it's quite boring, it's nothing you haven't seen before. It's like a paint by numbers, but with nothing that stands out. The acting performances are fine, the sets are fine, the people with the virus look fine. I couldn't say it's terrible acting, the set pieces are awful. The sound design wasn't great. It's one of those things where you're constantly turning the sound up and down, where you can't hear people speak and then you're being deafened by effects. But I can't insult it for being terrible, it was just dull. So I gave that one a 2 out of 5. Okay, later that evening I watched The Ninth Life of Louis Drax. This is a 2016 movie. And this is one of these cases where I watch something I've seen before and don't realise until I'm halfway through the film when I finished it. So this has got Jamie Dornan, Sarah Gadon, Aaron Paul, Molly Parker. So, a mystery beyond reality. A psychologist who begins working with a young boy who has suffered a near-fatal fall finds himself drawn into a mystery that tests the boundaries of fantasy and reality. So, Jamie Dornan is the psychologist. The young boy must be... Aaron Paul plays the young boy's dad. So, is it Aidan Longworth is the boy? Sarah Gadon, can't pronounce it, apologies, is the mother. Very beautiful, very pretty mother. This boy is very accident prone. He has had a lot of accidents. He's had a lot of near misses. And in this case, he suffers from a fall off the edge of a cliff. And they think he's died. He doesn't, he survives, but he's in a coma. This movie follows basically the mother, the psychologist, looking into the background of the boy. The boy, we get to see what the boy's thinking via almost like dreamlike sequences of when he's in this coma. There's a little bit of, it's not a completely flat linear movie. There's little like, I can't think of the word, like where he sees his dad as a different creature in this dream world that he has. So don't expect complete normality here. This is a really good movie. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I have seen it before, but I did find it very predictable. I did really like the performances. I thought the performances were excellent from everyone here. I just knew where we were going to go with this within half hour of the movie, maybe less of the movie starting. It was a bit, oh, I know where this is, and not because I've seen it before, but I did guess it last time as well. My husband is really good with these kind of things. He knows if he's seen something. I'm terrible. It's good if I've seen it within the last 5 years. Letterboxd will have it logged so I know I've seen it, but if it's prior to that, I've no baldy notion. So he knew that we'd seen this right from the beginning, and he said to me at the end, you guessed it last time as well, do you not remember? And I'm like, no, I don't. So same evening, Living Dark, the story of Ted the Caver. This is on Prime at the moment. There is imagery in this that's taken from the true story, which I covered on my channel of Nutty Putty Cave and the caver that got stuck. It's a horrible, horrible story, guys. This guy went in with his brother. It was around, I'm not sure if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, and he went into Nutty Putty Cave and he got stuck and he couldn't get out, and the end effect, this poor man died. They have used almost recreations of his situation in this, but it's not about that story at all. I thought it was a bit, why are you using this for a story that's completely, this is the exact picture that's famous of this guy. So two brothers reunited for their father's funeral stumble upon the entrance, and it was two brothers that went in before on the real story, to a nearby cave. Here they're slowly forced to confront the true nightmarish cause of their father's death. So, based on the popular Ted the Caver internet legend, so this is a creepypasta, which I've never heard of. It did have a lot in common in the makeup of that true story about Nutty Putty Cave, but it's kind of like a bit otherworldly, a bit creepy, a bit, there's something in that cave. Don't expect the descent, you're not going to get it. I gave it a 2 out of 5, pretty mediocre. I will say I was very distracted when I was watching it because I got so bored. If you've seen it, I will rewatch it if anyone tells me it is worth a rewatch. Could it be that I was so distracted that I wasn't paying attention? But I got distracted because I was bored. I can't say it was terrible in any respect, that I watched it and thought that acting's ridiculous. It just bored me. It didn't transfix me in any way, and I love things that, I'm a very claustrophobic person. I hate tight spaces. I'm not like lifts or something ridiculous like that, but things like the idea of caving to me is terrifying. The idea of getting stuck in those tight, narrow tunnels. So this kind of thing should, really appeal to me because it frightens me, the thought. But no, it didn't. It bored me to death. So Living Dark, the story of Ted the Caver, is a no from me. 2 out of 5 for the concept and for the idea, but the execution wasn't how it should have been. And lastly, this one's especially for Jamie Lee from In the Front Row. Guess what I watched? I watched Your Place or Mine. I don't know why I did it to myself. You did warn me. You did tell me this is terrible. What we'd been saying was I don't watch many romantic comedies because they're just not my cup of tea. And I worry that sometimes I'm going to miss a little gem, because there are some. The Wedding Singer I absolutely love. And Jamie Lee said, don't waste your time with this, it's terrible. And there's something weird in me, and I don't know what it is, that when someone tells me something's really bad, I need to see it. I don't know why that is, but I watched it. So this has Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher, two really accomplished sort of in that genre actors. Two lives, two cities, one last chance. When best friends and total opposites Debbie and Peter swap homes for a week, they get a peek into each other's lives that could open the door to love. So basic premise is these two are best friends. Many moons ago they hooked up once. They didn't stay together. They've remained very close friends. They live in different cities. And Reese Witherspoon's character, I can't even remember why I needed to go to the city that Ashton Kutcher, is it because of a degree she's doing? He says, oh, you can stay at my place, I'll go stay at yours, and he looks after her son while they have this swap. But there's a lot of like back and forth in text and phone calls, and it's so predictable. It's like, yeah, these two are going to end up where they want to get together, that's how it's going to end up. They're going to be that moment of realization where they realize, oh, it's been right under my nose the whole time. So we know where it's going. I just didn't care about either of the characters. What really surprised me was there were sections of this that Reese Witherspoon's acting was awful, and I know she's not a bad actress, but there were particular scenes. There's a scene where she's with this woman and they discover she looks for something on the ground, and there's a sealed envelope, a big jiffy bag envelope under a nightstand in his house. It's sealed, guys. And she finds it with her mate. What do? They open it. And I'm thinking, it's not yours. It's sealed. It's private. It's hidden. It's underneath a cabinet, and you're going to flip and open it, you cheeky cow. So I thought that was a bit crap to start with. But in the opening of this envelope, I'm sorry guys, I don't think I can spoil this for you, because if you've seen a movie in your life, you know where this is going. And it's that like moment of realization that he's kept little mementos that she kept too. And it's like the way she acts when that happens and her facial expressions, I think my son could do a better job. It was laughably bad. It was like, what's she doing? I'm like, watch her. Watch how she's like, her facial, like she's going. And I'm like, dear God, I'm the worst actress in the world, but it was terrible. Her character was sweet and nice, but no more depth than that, and his character just irritated me. He was like a giant fully grown child. Someone else that's in the movie I felt would have been much more suitable for her character, but it's not going to go there. It's not the case of, oh, this horrible guy that you don't know is a horrible guy, like in The Wedding Singer. He's not suitable for you, you should be with this guy instead. It's like, this guy is better for you, but you're going to go with that guy? What's wrong with you? Nothing to say positive about it. It just didn't work for me on any level. I gave it half a star out of 5 because that's the lowest mark I could give it without looking like I hadn't marked it. I don't even think, did I write anything about that? Austin Burke gave it a 2. Upside Down gave it a 2.5. That's generous, Dan. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a cynical old witch. I've written this as a perfect example of why I don't tend to watch romantic comedies. Fucking awful. My reviews are never very insightful, folks. They're just always a couple of lines and that's it. You can read people, talented reviewers for that. That's not me. I'm just going to tell you, is it a waste of time, or did I like it, or did I not like it? So guys, that is it for this week. I am also still watching The Last of Us, which gets better with every week. Last week's episode is stunning. I discovered a new song at the end, which, oh, I love it. It was originally done by Depeche Mode. I didn't know the song. And it's covered by the daughter, I believe, of the director at the end of episode 6. And I absolutely love the song, and I can't remember what it is now, but if you Google search YouTube Last of Us Season 6 end track, it's beautiful. Not the Depeche Mode version. I prefer the slow, sad, depressing version, which properly fits the scene. It's just getting better week on week, guys. I am going to actually restart playing The Last of Us. It's really made me want to get back into it again. There's so much more that's not in the game. There's so much fleshed out and so much added and so much more detail. But what we do get from the game looks like it's been lifted straight out. The scenes, the sets, the monsters, really, really impressed. I was worried at the start. After the first 2 episodes, while I admit they were good, I was worried I wasn't really going to like this as much as everyone else. But after episode 3, it completely changed for me, and we're now 6 episodes in, and I'm loving it. as a little sneak peek, this week I have watched 4 movies. Marcella's Shell with Shoes On, The Sun, Women Talking, and Unlocked. Now those first 3 movies are massively highly rated movies amongst anyone I know that's seen them. Unlocked is a new Netflix movie. Shall I give you spoiler on my viewpoint on them? The lowest mark I gave those 4 movies is 3.5 out of 5. I've got 2 3.5 out of 5s there, and I've got 2 4 out of 5s there. Really good movies, all worth watching, guys. So I will talk about them obviously next week and what I thought of them. Thank you so much as always for watching. I will be back next week with another what I watched, and hopefully between now and then I'm going to try and do another little entry from my book, which I've got here. In case you haven't seen it, my film listography. Shall I just go to a page in front of you now to pick my next list? So let's say, we'll stop there. List your biggest Hollywood same-sex crushes. Well, I'm not male, but if I was, it certainly wouldn't be Mark Wahlberg. He's a arsehole. Sorry, well he is, I'm sorry. Look into the guy's past. He's just not a very nice person. So, yep, that's it. List your biggest Hollywood same-sex crushes. I can think of a few off the top of my head. Let's put the old thing in there. I shall get that done and dusted. And I shall speak to you guys next week. Over and out from Lisa Lives.